Hi, this is Bruce Blord, and I wanted to have a little chat with you to just go over the syllabus before the first day so that we all know what's on the syllabus, including me. So let's go over the syllabus. You can find the syllabus located on our Blackboard site under Content. This is for U.S. Literature 1, so if you're here for chemistry, you're in the wrong class. I'm Dr. Bruce Blord. You don't need to know my office number, but the best thing to do would be to know that that is my email address, plord@rowan.edu. And so if you have any issues, any questions, feel free to send me an email. I will get back to you as soon as I can. For the text in this class, all of the text will be online. You can get your own online, but I've downloaded them all for you and put them under content again. And once you go into content, you'll see another folder that says course texts, and they'll be listed by week. These folders with these texts will open up on Monday, and they will stay open until Sunday night, and then they will close. So you'll want to be able to keep up with the class. I know that some of you have different schedules, you're working, you have things to do. So it's open all week, and you have the whole week to do it, but you want to keep up week to week, because if you miss a week, you won't be able to go back and do the previous week. The course description is there. It's basically a survey beginning with the first colonists to the New World and going up to about 1865 in the United States. The course objectives are listed there. In terms of academic accommodation, I want you to do well in this class. And in the English department, all of the professors want you to do well in their classes. So if you have any kind of an issue that I can help you with, please let me know how I can help you with that issue, whatever it is. It might be technical, it might be physical, something like that. Let me know. And also, if it is a disability that you can document, you should get that documentation over to the Academic Success Center, and that will allow you to have official accommodations from the university and from me. Okay, course requirements. I'm going to ask you to write responses for each of the readings, and as you'll see later in the syllabus, I've broken up the readings into a little bit, mostly a little bit every day. And for each of these readings, I'm going to ask you to post a response on our Blackboard site under discussion board. So what are responses? Responses are your intellectual, emotional, aesthetic, personal, or intellectual, as I said, connections to the text. So I don't want you to summarize what you just read. Assume that we've all read the same thing that you've read. Tell us something interesting about it, some kind of literary connection that you can make, some kind of personal connection that you can make. Think of the text as something that you'll want to put into a repertoire or a folder, because we're going to be advancing really in historical time from Christopher Columbus up to about the time of the Civil War. So put each text into that historical context and pretend that we're actually building towards something, which we will be. So in your responses, you want to keep that in mind and have a response that really shows that you've engaged with the text. It should be at least 1 page in length. So if you double space it, it would be about 250 to 300 words. And it should demonstrate some kind of thoughtfulness, inquisitiveness, insight, and so on. Responses that are late, or if they're too short or just have no content, they receive no credit, but they're on time, and they show that you have engaged with the text in some meaningful way. They receive full credit. So that's the easy 20% of the course. What I'd also like you to do is respond to 2 of your colleagues' responses. I'm calling these counter responses. You don't have to argue or take an obstinate position to what you find in your colleague's response, but respond to it thoughtfully. You might say, I agree, but that's not quite enough. A response that says, I agree, doesn't really have any content or substance. If you do agree, explain clearly why you agree. Or if you disagree, explain clearly why you disagree. Or maybe you have something to add on to a response that one of your colleagues has written. In any case, I'm calling these counter responses, and I would like you to do 2 of these per week. So for each week, 4 of your own responses and 2 counter responses per week. That will in some way make up for the fact that we're not really, I'm not going to force you or ask you to meet with me every week. If you want to, you can. We can talk about the texts in person through a Zoom meeting. If you can't, if you if your schedule won't allow that, that's fine. This is a way of making up for that and having some kind of a discussion and an interaction with these texts. Also, I will ask you to write quizzes. These will be weekly quizzes. These quizzes will open on Thursday afternoon, and they will be open and available for you to take them till Sunday night, when they will close and the next week will begin. So you have that window, Thursday to Sunday, to take the quiz. They're all going to be the same. You'll have 2 or 3 questions. These questions will in some way ask you to put together some ideas from the readings that we've read for that week. And I want you to write an essay in which you take a position or have a thesis statement, and then defend that thesis with 3 clear pieces of evidence, well developed in their own paragraphs. So what I'm looking for really is the quintessential 5-paragraph essay. It will have a strong position, it will take an argumentative position, and it will defend that position with your textual evidence. So you'll have available to you your responses, the responses of your colleagues, and your texts. I'm going to ask you not to use any internet sources. I want you to stay away from internet sources because that leads to plagiarism, and I don't want any plagiarism. If there is any plagiarism, I'm going to have to give you a 0 for that assignment, and that will definitely hurt your grade. So do not use the internet. Also, with these quizzes, once you open the quiz, you have to sit down and take it right then. You'll have 1 hour and 30 minutes to take each quiz. If you, for some reason, go out, let's say you go out of that website to check another website, Blackboard will shut you down and lock you out, and you won't be able to take the quiz. So once you sit down and take the quiz, you've got 1 hour and 30 minutes. Don't go out of that window, or you won't be able to get back into the quiz. You have to take it all in one sitting. Formal papers. There's only one formal paper. So at the end of the semester, I'd like you to write a fairly short 4 to 6 page paper. And ideally, this paper is going to come out of your interest in something that we read in the semester. Maybe you want to write a paper about William Bradford or Mary Rowlandson or Washington Irving. You found something interesting and you want to research it a little bit, pursue it, find out what other people have thought and said. This paper is going to ask you to have an argument. The same with the quizzes, but this will be a longer exercise, 4 to 6 pages. You'll need to use at least one academic source. And by academic source, I mean something that would be published in a journal, something that you would find on the library's website under JSTOR or Academic Search Premier or EBSCO Host or something like that. Or if the library is open, you can go to the library and find an academic source, some kind of article that has authoritative information on your topic, whatever it might be. You have to have at least one of those. And then that will be due at the end of the semester. If we get close to the end of the semester and you really have no idea of what you might want to write about, let me know. And we can either have an email exchange or we can do a Zoom meeting and we can talk over what you might do for the final paper. You'll upload it on our Blackboard site. It's all ready for you there. It should be a link that says final paper. And so that link will send your paper to turnitin.com that will check for any inappropriate use of sources. So again, for your final paper, you want to document your sources carefully and make sure that you don't plagiarize. I don't want to give you a 0. I do not want to give you a 0 for your assignment. So whenever you use a source, put quotation marks around it and the parentheses at the end, and you're cool, you're covered. In fact, I like to see when students go out and do some extra research and then document it properly. It means that you've done that extra little bit. Well, for the paper, it's required. But I like to see students going out to find out what other people before you have thought and said about things. It looks good when you do that. So do that, document your sources. Don't take credit for work that you've not done. and submit your paper at the end on that link. There's a listing of the final grade determination. Your responses are worth 20%. That's a pretty good chunk. That's 1/5 of your grade. So you might want to spend some time doing those responses. And I posted a sample response, something that I would have responded to with the Christopher Columbus letter, just to show you what I'm kind of expecting. I'm not expecting an essay. I'm not expecting something that has a clear list of bullet points. It can be disorganized. It's just an opportunity for you to get your thoughts down electronically on electronic paper, I guess. So your responses are 20%. Each of the quizzes will be 10%, and then your final paper will be worth 20%. Academic integrity, I've kind of touched upon it before, but I'll touch upon it again. Academic integrity, as you know by now, is when you copy or imitate the material or the words or the language of a source that's not your own, and you take credit for it. And that's plagiarism. It's cheating. And if you do that, it ends up costing you. You would get a 0 for that assignment. So if it's a quiz, you would get 0% instead of some portion of 10%. So don't plagiarize. Due dates are flexible to a degree, but they are finally due when they're due. That means that quizzes are due Sunday night. That's the deadline. Responses are due. Your first responses to the text are due Friday night, and then your counter responses are due Sunday night. So you want to keep those dates firm. If you miss them, it means that you might get a 0 on those parts. The grading scale is next. And then before the scheduled readings, I wrote a short note to explain my purpose in writing this syllabus the way I did. This past semester, as you know, probably, we moved about mid-semester, right around when spring break happened, we moved from being in class to being online. And that shift was challenging for everybody. And in talking with the students at the end of the semester, excuse me, one issue that they mentioned was time management. Oftentimes, especially with an asynchronous class, a class that did not meet at its usual time, students tended to put off the work and sometimes did not get to it at all. And so they did not do well. Of course, in the English department, we're very understanding. We want to help you as much as possible. So we're accommodating. But that was the most often cited issue that students had with the online environment. Poor time management. And it can happen. If you don't have to be somewhere, you can sleep in, have a late breakfast. You might forget that you'd actually, have some work to do. So I want to keep you on course. And that's why I wrote the syllabus the way I did. It's broken up into Monday through Thursday, and it has a reading for each of those days. So I think that if you keep on target with those readings day to day, you'll stay on task and you'll be able to get everything done for the semester. Also, I would like to, for those of you who would like to meet and talk about the text, I would like to also have a synchronous meeting with you. This will be on Zoom, and I will send you the link. It will be every day from 12 to 1 o'clock, and we can talk about any issues that you have. If it goes over 1 o'clock, that's fine, but I would set aside 1 hour to discuss the day's texts and any other questions that you might have. And if you just want to log in and ask a question and log back out, that's fine. Or if you'd like to log in and listen to the discussion that we have about the text, that's fine too. It's voluntary, but it's there if you want it. I'll send you the link via email every day. Click on the link and it should take you right into the meeting. What comes next is the list of readings that we'll be doing beginning Monday, May 18th. So the first week we'll be looking at Columbus, Bartolome de las Casas, Winthrop, and Bradford. We're looking at the first European settlers, the Spanish settlers who settled the Indies and Central and South America. Then we'll be looking at the colonization of the United States, especially New England, with John Winthrop and William Bradford. And then that Thursday afternoon, that first quiz will open up. You'll have until Sunday to complete that. The questions on those quizzes will relate to those texts that we read for that week. So it shouldn't be any big surprise. You should be able to piece together in some way some ideas involving these readings. And then the second week involves Puritan women and the men who knew them. The third week discusses Enlightenment thinking in the Age of Reason. The fourth week is about, I categorize it as privilege. The fifth week will be on American Romanticism, especially Irving, Poe, Hawthorne, and Melville. And the last week discusses innovation and how some authors brought substantial change to American literature at around the time of the American Civil War. That's the syllabus, and that's me. And so if you have any questions at all, my email address is plourde@rowan.edu. Feel free to send me an email if you have any questions or any issues. And I look forward to working with you this semester and talking with these foundational texts in American, even before the United States, American literature. And so until next week, or until I see you in our Zoom meeting, take care.